are so possessed with self-hatred that we carry around so many traits of post-traumatic slavery thinking that if we were to bring that stuff to the Caribbean, to Africa, if we were to bring it to African root nations, that we may cause more problems, okay, for our brothers and sisters who are already there than they can handle. So I am afraid not for how they would treat us, but for how we would infect them with our own inferiority complexes. I can picture black women going to Jamaica. I can picture black women going to Nigeria, and I could see them looking down upon our black sisters in those countries who still wear their natural hair. I can see them looking down on black sisters for their broad lips and for their broad nose. I can see black men from here wanting to bring their white wives with them to Nigeria and to South Africa. We don't need any of that in Africa. As Mr. Garvey used to say, some of us are no good here, and thusly we won't be any good back home in Africa. Now, the other scenario, because our existence in Africa with our current mindset may cause more problems than it solves. The other way for us to achieve some degree of independence and self-respect here in America and somehow sidestep the extermination process, which is going to be difficult to do even if we do this, starting at such a late hour, is for us to contribute, and this is Garveyism 101, is for us to contribute to the building up of a strong centralized nation in Africa. Mr. Garvey used to say that a strong man is strong anywhere. One of the reasons why Arabs in America, despite the war on terror, get more respect than black people, the reason why Chinese Americans get more respect than black people is because they have nations who are strong enough, who are willing to stand up to the United States of America for the mistreatment of members of their race in this country. In other words, if you mistreat Chinese people as a group, you're going to hear from China. If you mistreat Iranians as a group, you're going to hear from Iran. If you mistreat East Indians as a group, you're going to hear from India, which coincidentally is the second largest population in the world behind China now. My point is, Africans are treated the way they are, not principally because they're black, but principally because you have no power. You have no unity. We live in a world where might equals right. Praying and voting and protesting means nothing in the 21st century. The only thing that matters right now is power. As Mr. Garvey said, we must get it physically, scientifically, financially, economically, institutionally. That means what? Black people in America must take the $850 billion buying power that we have and invest it back home in Africa. If you take, brothers and sisters, if you take the $850 billion, which makes us the richest group of blacks on the face of the earth and the 10th richest group on the earth, there's only 9 groups of people who gross more than $850 billion, and none of them are black. If you take our riches and invest that into the mineral resources of Africa, we will be a superpower overnight. China and America together cannot combat the potential of a unified African America and continent of Africa. Pan-Africanism, nothing else. Pan-Africanism, nothing else, is the only solution for us. But as long as we turn a deaf ear to Africa, as long as we act like what goes on in Africa has nothing to do with us, we will be exterminated. Whenever you want to get rid of a certain species, let's say you have an insect problem in your house. How do you combat that insect problem? Do you go around killing the individual insects as they run? No. You find the mothership. You find the queen mother who's laying the eggs, and then you stomp her out. Because if you are able to stomp out the queen mother, then it'll just be a matter of time before the others equally die because they won't be able to produce themselves as quickly as the mothership. Once Africa is destroyed, once the African is totally subdued, the rest of us in the Caribbean, in America, in Asia, in Europe, once the mothership of Africa is destroyed, it'll only be about 50 to 100 years before the rest of us follow suit. Your future, your destiny in America and on earth is intimately connected to the destiny of Africa. As Africa goes, so does you go. And black people keep trying to separate themselves from Africa as if white people are going to someday forget that that's where you come from. 243 years of slavery, 75 years of Jim Crow, 50 years of Reconstruction, 50 years of racial extermination is not ever going to obliterate the memory that everyone has in the back of their mind, which was that you are an African, you are only brought here to serve, you are no longer wanted, and if you want to prevent your extermination, you better best remember who you are and get the hell back to where you come from as quickly as you can. People laughed at Marcus Garvey when he said that we got to build up Africa in order to protect ourselves. But you know what? People are starting to wake up. People are starting to realize that black nationalism can't solve this problem. The United States of America giving us one or two states in the South is not going to solve this problem. If Hurricane Katrina taught you nothing else, if Hurricane Katrina taught black nationalists nothing else, it should have taught them that simply getting a couple states in the middle of America when you are landlocked by this country is not independence, is nothing but a form of integration, and that they will flush you out and wash you out as expediently and easily as they did our brothers and sisters down in New Orleans. So black nationalism, a nation within a nation, is not going to cut it. You must have independent nationhood in the continent of Africa, which is strong enough to look out for your interests here. When Africa can produce embassies and diplomats who they can dispatch to come and sit with the Secretary of State and the President of the United States and say, what the hell is going on with black boys in America? What the hell are you doing to our sisters in America? Until a nation state exists that has the power and the guts necessary to look out for the race, we are all doomed to hell. We think that because we're the most educated group of blacks on the planet that somehow earns us more respect. Could you ever respect somebody who hates who they are? Could you ever respect somebody who has the ability to do something for their native land and totally ignores it? Could you ever respect somebody who tries to call themselves something else because they feel that calling themselves an African is a badge of shame? How in the hell can white people respect black people when black people allow them to miseducate their children? You can never, ever get more respect than the respect you give your own babies. And as long as we let our boys get miseducated, and as long as we let our kids drop out of school where we got a situation where only 1 out of every 4 black boys gets a high school diploma, only 1 out of every 5 black girls, as long as we have a situation where only 3 out of every black boys will ever see the inside of a university, you want respect? How in the hell can I respect the people who don't even raise their children, who don't even educate their children, who turns them over to white supremacy by way of the school and the cemetery and the prison, and you want respect from me? You can never get more respect than what you give ourselves. And black people, and I say this all the time, Brother Gus, and to the listener and everybody else, black people keep talking about they want a change in their material existence. Brothers and sisters, I submit to you as a Pan-African nationalist, you will never affect a permanent change of your political economic situation until you first change the way that you think. Brother Gus, reformation of conduct, reformation of character, reformation of the way that one thinks, reformation of the way that your community operates must precede revolution. If you have a revolution before you have reformation of one's cognitive state, in 25 years, everything will be right back the way it was before. Because until a man changes his thinking, a change in his material existence is only temporary.